The dust swept across the barren Texas plains as Constance Gilliam clutched the doctor's letter in her trembling hands, the cruel diagnosis still burning in her mind. Female condition renders childbearing impossible. At 22, she had been deemed worthless by the townspeople of Redrock, the whispers following her like shadows as she made her way down the dusty Main Street in the spring of 1875. "Poor Henry won't stay with her now," Mrs. Peterson muttered to her friend as Constance passed the general store. "What use is a barren wife in these parts?" Constance quickened her pace, her skirts sweeping the dirt road as tears threatened to spill. 3 years of marriage and no children had raised suspicions, but now the doctor's confirmation had sealed her fate. Her husband Henry had barely looked at her when the news came, his disappointment palpable in the small cabin they called home. That morning he had packed his bags without ceremony. "I need a real wife," he'd said flatly, "one who can give me sons." Now she walked aimlessly, the midday sun beating down on her auburn hair. The stagecoach office appeared ahead, a beacon of escape from the town that had already begun to treat her like a ghost. "1 ticket to Silvercreek," she told the ticket master, emptying nearly all her savings onto the counter. "Leaving without Henry?" he asked, eyebrows raised. Constance lifted her chin. "Henry has already left me." The stagecoach departed at dawn the next morning. Constance sat stiffly beside an elderly woman who mercifully asked no questions. The journey stretched across 2 days of rough terrain, her body jolting with each rut in the road. Yet every mile that separated her from Redrock felt like a blessing. Silvercreek appeared on the horizon like a mirage larger than Redrock, but still small enough to be intimate. The main street bustled with activity. Cowboys on horseback, merchants hawking wares, and women in colorful dresses navigating the boardwalks. "End of the line," the driver called. Constance descended carefully, her single trunk containing everything she owned. The boarding house stood 3 buildings down, a modest 2-story structure with a faded sign swinging from its porch. "Rooms 50 cents a night," the proprietress, Mrs. Winters, informed her. "I run a respectable establishment. No men, no drinking." "I understand," Constance replied, handing over the coins. "I'm looking for work as well." Mrs. Winters assessed her with sharp eyes. "Milliner's shop might need help. The seamstress just eloped with a cattle driver." By nightfall, Constance had secured employment at Madame Boutel's Millinery and Fashion. Her nimble fingers and eye for detail impressed the French expatriate who owned the shop. "You have talent, ma chérie," Madame Boutel declared after watching Constance repair an intricate lace trim. Such hands were made for creating beauty. For 2 months, Constance settled into a quiet routine. She rose early, worked diligently at the shop, and returned to her small room at dusk. The townsfolk barely noticed her, which suited her perfectly. Her heart remained a fortress, unwilling to risk further humiliation. Everything changed on a sweltering July afternoon when the shop bell jingled, and in strode a tall figure silhouetted against the bright sunlight. "Afternoon, ladies," came a deep voice that seemed to fill the small space. "I'm looking for something special." Constance glanced up from her stitching to see a man unlike any she'd encountered in Silvercreek. Dust coated his clothes and boots, suggesting a long journey. His face bore the weathered look of someone who lived beneath the open sky, but his eyes, a startling blue, held an unexpected gentleness. "For your wife, monsieur?" Madame Boutel inquired, bustling forward. The man removed his hat, revealing sandy hair that curled slightly at the edges. "My sister. She's getting married next month." "How thoughtful," Madame Boutel cooed. "Miss Gilliam will assist you. She has our finest taste." Constance felt her cheeks warm as the man turned his attention to her. Up close, she noticed a small scar that cut through his left eyebrow and the sun-kissed skin that spoke of years working outdoors. Hunter Xavier, he introduced himself with a slight bow. Most folks call me Hunt. Constance Gilliam, she replied softly, setting aside her work. What sort of piece were you considering for your sister? Their conversation flowed with surprising ease as Constance showed him various hairpins, combs, and decorative hat accessories. His hands, calloused but careful, examined each piece with genuine interest. This one, he finally decided, selecting a silver hair comb adorned with delicate pearl flowers. Hannah always loved pearls. As Constance wrapped the purchase in tissue paper, Hunt leaned against the counter. You're new to Silvercreek, aren't you? Haven't seen you at the church socials. I arrived in May, she answered, tying the package with ribbon. I don't attend many gatherings. That's a shame, he remarked with a smile that crinkled the corners of his eyes. Town could use more beauty at its functions. The compliment caught her off guard, and she nearly dropped the package. Her fingers brushed against his as she handed him the wrapped comb, sending an unexpected warmth up her arm. Perhaps I'll see you around town, Miss Gilliam, he said, placing his hat back on his head. I've got business here for the next few weeks. After he left, Madame Boutel nudged Constance playfully. That one has eyes only for you, ma petite, and such a handsome cowboy. He was being polite, Constance insisted, though her heart had quickened during their exchange. Nothing more. Yet the following day, Hunt appeared again, this time claiming he needed handkerchiefs for his father. The day after, he required lace for his mother's birthday gift. By his fourth visit, Madame Boutel was barely containing her amusement. Your family must be the most fashionable in the territory, Constance teased as she showed him ribbon selections. Hunt laughed, the sound rich and genuine. I confess, Miss Gilliam, my shopping needs have been somewhat exaggerated. Oh, she replied, attempting to maintain her professional demeanor despite the fluttering in her chest. I'd like to call on you properly, he stated plainly. With your permission, of course. Constance hesitated, Henry's rejection still fresh in her mind. Mr. Xavier, I'm flattered, but just a walk after church this Sunday, he pressed gently. Nothing improper. Against her better judgment, she agreed, and that Sunday found them strolling beneath the cottonwood trees that lined the creek east of town. Hunt spoke of his ranch 15 miles outside Silvercreek, the cattle drive he'd recently completed to Kansas, and his dreams of expanding his operations. What brought you to Silvercreek? He eventually asked. Most folks here were either born to it or married into it. Constance tensed, unwilling to reveal her shame. I needed a change. Hunt seemed to sense her reluctance and changed the subject. Their walks became a Sunday tradition, and slowly, Constance found herself lowering the walls around her heart. Hunt was unlike Henry in every way patient, attentive, and genuinely interested in her thoughts and feelings. By September, their courtship had become the talk of Silvercreek. Hunt called on her 3 evenings a week, sometimes bringing wildflowers or small treasures he'd found on his land. You've bewitched my best ranch hand, teased Jacob Thornton, who owned the mercantile and whose wife frequented Madame Boutel's shop. Never seen Hunt so distracted during cattle season. Constance found herself smiling more, laughing freely for the first time in years. Yet each time Hunt's affection deepened, the shadow of her condition loomed larger. She knew she must tell him the truth before matters progressed further. The opportunity came during an autumn picnic beside the creek. The leaves had begun to turn, painting the landscape in golds and reds. Hunt had spread a blanket beneath a towering oak, and they sat together enjoying fried chicken and apple pie. Constance, Hunt began, his tone suddenly serious as he took her hand. These past months have been the happiest of my life. I've never met anyone like you." Her heart raced as she recognized the direction of his words. "Hunt, wait, there's something you should know about me." "Whatever it is, it doesn't matter," he insisted. "It does," she countered, pulling her hand away. "I was married before." His expression showed surprise but not judgment. "I figured there might be a story there." "My husband left me," she continued, her voice barely above a whisper, "because I cannot have children. The doctor in Redrock confirmed it. Something is wrong with me." Tears burned her eyes as she forced out the words. "They said my body is useless as a wife." Hunt's face darkened with anger. "Who said such a thing?" "Everyone," she replied. "My husband, the doctor, the town gossips, and they're right. What man wants a barren wife in a place where children are needed to work the land?" "Constance," Hunt said firmly, taking both her hands in his. "Look at me." She raised her tear-stained face to meet his gaze. "Those people were cruel and wrong. You are priceless to me. Your worth isn't measured by your ability to bear children." "But you'll want a family," she protested. "I want you," he stated simply. "Children or no children. We could adopt orphans if we decide we want a family. There are always children needing homes after the fevers sweep through." His words wrapped around her heart like a healing balm. "You truly mean that?" "I've never meant anything more," he affirmed, reaching into his pocket to withdraw a small wooden box. "I've been carrying this for weeks, waiting for the right moment." Inside nestled a simple gold band with a single pearl. "It reminded me of the comb you sold me the day we met," he explained. "Constance Gilliam, would you do me the honor of becoming my wife?" Tears flowed freely now, but they were different from the tears of shame she'd grown accustomed to. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, I will." They married in the small white church of Silvercreek on the first snow of winter. Madame Boutel had insisted on creating Constance's wedding dress a cream silk confection with pearl beading that echoed her engagement ring. The entire town turned out for the celebration, won over by the couple's obvious devotion. Hunt took her to his ranch that evening, a sturdy two-story house surrounded by rolling pastures. Though modest compared to some of the territory's larger operations, it was well built and welcoming. "Welcome home, Mrs. Xavier," he murmured, carrying her across the threshold. The winter passed in blissful contentment as Constance learned the rhythms of ranch life. She discovered talents she never knew she possessed: gardening, preserving, even assisting during calving season. Hunt taught her to ride properly, laughing with delight as she gained confidence on horseback. "You're a natural," he declared after she successfully herded strays back to the main group. By spring, Constance had transformed the ranch house with curtains she'd sewn and furniture she'd arranged to create cozy nooks for reading and conversation. The ranch hands, initially wary of their boss's city wife, quickly warmed to her hearty cooking and genuine interest in their lives. One morning in April, Constance woke feeling strangely ill. The sensation persisted for several days, accompanied by an unusual fatigue. "Perhaps we should ride into town and see Dr. Wallace," Hunt suggested, concern etching his features. Constance hesitated, memories of the Redrock doctor's cold pronouncement still haunting her. "It's just a spring fever. It will pass." But when the symptoms continued into May, Hunt insisted. They made the journey to Silvercreek, and Constance reluctantly entered Dr. Wallace's office while Hunt waited anxiously outside. The doctor, a kind-faced man in his 50s, listened carefully to her symptoms before conducting a thorough examination. His expression revealed nothing as he made notes in his ledger. "Mrs. Xavier," he finally said, "I believe congratulations are in order." Constance stared at him in confusion. "I don't understand." "You're with child, my dear. About 3 months along, I'd estimate." The room seemed to spin around her. "That's impossible. I was told I could never conceive." Dr. Wallace frowned. "Who told you such a thing?" Dr. Mercer in Redrock. "He examined me thoroughly and said my condition made it impossible." "Mercer?" Dr. Wallace shook his head. "He's known for his quick diagnoses and quicker dismissals. Without more information, I can't say what he might have misinterpreted, but you are most definitely carrying a child." Tears welled in Constance's eyes. "You're certain?" "As certain as medicine allows," he confirmed with a gentle smile. "You should prepare for a winter baby." Hunt's face when she emerged from the doctor's office was a picture of anxiety. "What is it? Are you ill?" Constance took his hands, her eyes shining. "Hunt, I'm going to have a baby. Our baby." His expression transformed from concern to shock to pure joy in an instant. Without warning, he lifted her and spun her around, heedless of the townsfolk watching from the boardwalk. "Careful," she laughed. "The doctor said I need rest and good food." "You'll have everything you need," he promised, setting her down gently and pressing a kiss to her forehead. "Everything and more." The months that followed were filled with preparations. Hunt added a nursery to the ranch house, crafting a cradle from oak with his own hands. Constance sewed tiny garments during the long summer evenings, still scarcely believing the miracle growing within her. As her body changed, Hunt treated her with even greater tenderness, marveling at each new development. "You're more beautiful than ever," he would whisper as they lay together at night, his hand resting protectively over her growing belly. December brought heavy snows and bitter winds. Constance's time drew near, and Hunt rarely left her side, delegating ranch duties to his foreman. Labor began during a howling blizzard 3 days before Christmas. The ranch hand Hunt sent for Dr. Wallace returned alone, reporting that the doctor was tending to another birth across the territory, and the trails were becoming impassable. "The baby won't wait," Constance gasped between contractions. "Send for Mrs. Rodriguez. She's helped birth half the babies in the county." The ranch cook's wife, Elena Rodriguez, arrived quickly from the workers' quarters, shooing Hunt from the bedroom with practiced authority. "Men have no place in the birthing room," she declared. "Go boil water and pray, senor." Hunt paced the kitchen floor for hours, wincing at each cry that echoed from upstairs. The ranch hands gathered in silent support, offering awkward words of encouragement. Shortly after midnight, a new cry pierced the night, the lusty wail of a newborn taking its first breath. Hunt froze, his heart pounding as he stared at the staircase. Elena appeared at the top of the stairs, her round face wreathed in smiles. "Senor Xavier, come meet your son." Hunt took the stairs 2 at a time. In the bedroom, Constance reclined against freshly plumped pillows, her face radiant despite the exhaustion evident in her features. In her arms lay a tiny bundle wrapped in the softest blanket they owned. "Hunt," she whispered, "come see what we made together." He approached the bed with reverence, sitting carefully beside his wife. She turned back the edge of the blanket to reveal a perfect little face, eyes screwed shut and wisps of dark hair plastered to a damp forehead. "He's beautiful," Hunt breathed, reaching out to touch one tiny fist. To his amazement, the baby's fingers uncurled and wrapped around his index finger with surprising strength. "I want to name him Samuel," Constance said softly, "after my father." "Samuel Xavier," Hunt tested the name, nodding his approval. "A strong name for a strong boy." That Christmas became a celebration beyond anything they had imagined. News of the birth spread quickly, and despite the snow, visitors arrived bearing gifts and good wishes. Dr. Wallace finally made it through 3 days later, pronouncing both mother and child in excellent health. "Whatever Mercer thought he saw was clearly mistaken," he told Constance. You and your son are perfect examples of health." As winter gave way to spring, Samuel thrived. His eyes turned the same striking blue as his father's, while his hair remained dark like Constance's. He grew quickly, his cheerful disposition bringing joy to everyone at the ranch. By his first birthday, Samuel was taking wobbly steps, chasing after the ranch cat and babbling constant streams of almost words. Hunt proved to be a natural father, endlessly patient and utterly devoted. "Who would have thought," Constance mused one evening as they watched their son sleep, "that the woman deemed worthless in Redrock would find such happiness?" Hunt wrapped his arm around her shoulders. "Their loss was my infinite gain. I thank God every day that you walked into that millinery shop." In the spring of 1878, as Samuel approached his second birthday, Constance felt the now familiar symptoms return. Dr. Wallace confirmed her suspicions another baby would join their family in the fall. "A sister for Samuel, I think," Hunt predicted, his hand resting on her still flat stomach. "Or another son," Constance countered with a smile. "Either way, another miracle." Their daughter, Elizabeth, arrived in October with the same determination as her brother, entering the world during a spectacular thunderstorm that lit up the Texas sky. Unlike Samuel's dark coloring, Elizabeth had wisps of golden hair and her mother's green eyes. The years that followed brought prosperity to the Xavier Ranch. Hunt's careful management and forward-thinking approaches to cattle breeding made their operation one of the most successful in the county. Constance's garden expanded to provide vegetables for both their family and the ranch hands, and her preserves won ribbons at the county fair 3 years running. Samuel grew into a thoughtful boy with his father's affinity for horses and his mother's eye for detail. Elizabeth developed a spirited personality that kept everyone on their toes, climbing trees and racing her brother across the pastures on her pony. In the spring of 1882, when an unexpected letter arrived from Redrock, Constance opened it with trembling fingers. Her former husband, Henry, had died of pneumonia, and his second wife was settling his affairs. "Are you all right?" Hunt asked that evening when he found her on the porch, staring at the distant hills. "I am," she replied with genuine peace. "I was just thinking about how differently life might have turned out." "Do you ever regret leaving Redrock?" Constance turned to face the man who had seen value in her when others saw none. Behind him in the parlor window, she could see Samuel helping Elizabeth with her letters, their heads bent together over a slate. "Not for a single moment," she answered, rising to embrace him. "Every step of that journey led me here to you and our children. I wouldn't change a thing." Hunt pressed a kiss to her temple. "Nor would I, my love. Nor would I." As the sun set over their land, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and purples, Constance Xavier reflected on the remarkable journey from that dust-swept day in Redrock to this moment of complete fulfillment. The doctors and townspeople had been wrong. Her body was not useless, but capable of creating miracles. The cowboy who had declared her priceless had been right all along. That night, as they lay together beneath a quilt Constance had stitched during their first winter together, Hunt pulled her close. "Do you know what day it is?" he murmured against her hair. Constance smiled in the darkness. "7 years since you walked into Madame Boutel's shop looking for a hair comb." "The day my life truly began," he affirmed. "Though I only went in because I saw you through the window, arranging ribbons like they were precious jewels." "You never told me that," she said, turning to face him. "Some secrets a man keeps close," he replied with a grin. "Like how I rode 15 miles that morning just to find an excuse to meet the beautiful woman everyone in town was talking about." "And now look at us," Constance whispered. "A family, a home, a life built together." "The best decision I ever made," Hunt agreed. was walking into that shop and finding the woman everyone else was too blind to truly see. Outside their window, a shooting star streaked across the Texas sky, a silent witness to the enduring love that had defied all predictions and blossomed in the wildness of the frontier, creating a legacy that would extend far beyond what either of them could have imagined on that fateful day when a cowboy declared a rejected woman priceless. And together, they proved the world wrong.